The story behind Concord is wild. The game was in production for 8 years, it had a budget of an estimated $100 million, and now it's being taken offline after 2 weeks. It was released on August 23rd, and now it's being shut down on September 6th. How does a game this high profile and this seemingly important to Sony just go away? And by the end of this video, maybe we'll both have a better understanding of exactly what happened. So Concord was a 5v5 hero shooter, and across a few different game modes, you're going to be competing to win against other players. And when the game launched, it was priced at $40, and this was already a mark against Concord because other games like this are usually free to play. In those cases, you'll download the game for free and then decide to buy in-game cosmetics if you like it. But in Concord's case, you have to decide to buy the game outright and hope you like it from there. And this wasn't a big deal when Overwatch released, but that was about 8 years ago. Things have changed since then. This is a different landscape whether we like it or not. But the price tag isn't the only reason Concord shut down. Ultimately, people just aren't enjoying this game as much as Sony hoped they would. Not to mention the game barely sold any units at all. I think they made $1 million back on it, and nobody really played it after they bought it. Save for a few dedicated people. There was a very, very strong growing community for Concord, and it's really sad that that's gonna just go away, but it also wasn't that many people for Sony to be like, okay, we'll keep the game going. But it's still impressive to me to see just how far people took this game in the short time that it was around. So kudos to them. But the confusing thing for me was how Concord looked when we first saw this game. There was a PlayStation showcase in May that showed the first trailer for Concord, and it's very cinematic, very narrative heavy. It seems like these characters all have a very good rapport with each other. And although this was just a cinematic trailer, it seemed to hint at something more cooperative. A game where you pick a character, your friends pick a character, and you go on missions performing heists and doing all sorts of space crimes. The character designs looked like something out of Guardians of the Galaxy, but the actual aesthetics were very realistic. It looked really unique. That being said, the character design is one of the main things that people complained about with this game, but I didn't have any real feelings towards them. I was more concerned with how Concord felt to play, because at its core, this game had good bones. The characters had their own unique abilities, which were interesting to check out, and the actual playing of the game felt good. But that good gameplay almost means nothing if you're not in the mood to play a player versus player game. But Concord actually has a huge focus on storytelling. Every week, you're given a new cinematic that tells a story between the characters. And these are some high fidelity cinematics, and you can tell a lot of work goes into making them, which means it's important to the game. But outside of those cutscenes that you get once a week and a bunch of lore to read, you're not really given a reason to care about the story. Because once the cinematic ends, those same characters that you saw having fun and talking to each other go fight in the player versus player modes in this game. It makes almost no sense. The gameplay and the storytelling almost had nothing to do with each other. And I found this really frustrating because within all these cinematics, they're talking about rival crews and other people they're gonna fight, but in the game, they're all fighting each other, and it makes almost no sense to me.
Here we will show no mercy. They do not stand a chance.
But this disconnect between the storytelling and the gameplay told me something else. It had me believing that we weren't seeing the full picture of Concord just yet. When you select a mode to play in this game, there are cards on the menus. This is just how they're laid out. And on each of these cards, there's tags that tell you what kind of game mode you're going to be getting into. But the thing I found strange is that some of the cards said on them PvP. Now, these were the main modes of the game, but as far as we knew, PvP, player versus player, is the only way you can play Concord. Now, I know I might be cutting hairs. This kind of sounds like a conspiracy theory, but if they're going to label things PvP, then what's to stop them from labeling something PvE in the future? That's player versus environment, and that's more of what people wanted from Concord, or at least I think they did. Because if they had a mode in this game where you could team up with your friends and move the story along by playing some missions, I think that would have really set Concord apart. And given all of the storytelling that they wanted to tell in Concord, it seemed like this would have fit perfectly with the game. And I think that would have made the $40 price tag easier to swallow. But most importantly, that would have set Concord apart from other games in its category. Overwatch 2 classically promised a player versus environment mode and then rolled that back. So if Concord had something like that, it might have been a great way for them to gain some goodwill in the community, which could have potentially resulted in more people playing the game just because there were more ways to enjoy it. So while I do think it's a shame that Concord's being taken offline before it got a chance to really get its feet under it, I do understand that it needs to happen. As a matter of fact, I'm glad it's happening simply because I think this is going to give the game a second chance in the future. Although at the moment, all we really know is that they're going to explore options to see what they can do. So while this might be the last we've ever heard of Concord, it's good that they didn't just leave the game offline to rot. Maybe they would have gained more players by making it free to play, but I don't really know if that would have made the difference. All of this being said, what do you think of this situation? Are you one of the handful of people who actually enjoyed Concord, or are you just hearing about this game online and now we're talking about it here? Either way, let me know in the comments because I want to talk about it. Let's keep it civil down there, but I do think this is a really really interesting story. And if you like this video, make sure you like the video. And if you really like this video and you want to see more of this, then make sure you subscribe to my channel. Other than that, thank you very much for letting me talk your ear off about this whole Concord situation, and I will see you in the next video.